Alright, today I thought I would do an update since I haven't done an update in forever. I don't even know the last time I uploaded a video, which, maybe I shouldn't have made a channel and then had viewers be like, oh, where have you been? So, here I am. It's been crazy busy, which, I don't know, I always feel like that's a bad excuse because whose life isn't crazy busy? But I feel like especially this last 2 months have I don't know. And that second semester of second year would be a little bit easier with giving us board study time, and I feel like it's the most chaotic. But we did have our surgery class, which you're in smaller groups, so some groups had it back in September, October, and our group had it in February, March, and then it just ended last week. So that on top of everything else has made our life so busy. I feel like every minute is planned out, and it's just so crazy. So let's see what has been happening. First off, school's been going great, trying to stay on top of things. We have finished quite a few classes. I don't even know the last time I made an update what class we were on. But renal, we did renal, which was kind of one of the harder classes, and my advisor kept telling me like, oh, people think cardio is the hardest, but renal actually, people, forget about renal, and that's actually a really hard class. So a little bit nervous going into it, but it ended up being a really good class for me, and as well as John, he rocked it. Like, oh my goodness, he did really well in that class. So we finished that, which was a relief, and how am I blanking? I don't even know what other classes we finished. Then the next one I remember is neuro. We had neurology, and I don't know, I was a little bit disappointed in it. I did fine, but looking through first aid and other things, I feel like we missed quite a bit. Like neuroanatomy was pretty intense last year, and we didn't even really review any neuroanatomy. We didn't talk about like Huntington's. We didn't talk about like muscular dystrophies. I don't know. I don't know if I'm disappointed or what, but I guess that we'll learn that on our own or whatever we learned last year. We learned a little bit about those last year. I guess was good enough. We spent a lot of time on stroke, which is good because that is a very common thing that we're going to deal with. So I guess it's really important that we do understand that and how to treat that. And so that class is already done. And then surgery, let's see. Well, actually, that was my last week. This is kind of fun. Not. We had a renal SPALL on Wednesday. And oh my gosh, I'm going to complain about that for a second. That was the hardest SPALL I have ever had to do. I walked in there and we got lab results, and I guess now it's over, I can talk about it, but a person came in with fatigue and headaches, and we knew it was a renal SPALL, so I'm like, oh, okay, that could be anything. Lab results showed low sodium, low chloride, and I think everything else was semi-normal, some were borderline low. And I'm just like, okay, okay, I had no idea walking in. So of course I'm taking my history, and I guess now looking back, knowing what the actual diagnosis was, I was just thinking, and I walked in there and my patient was a 26-year-old African-American female. And I'm sorry, but every one of my other SPALL patients has been at least 60, I feel like, and Caucasian. Which, nothing wrong or anything, but it just took me off. I was like, oh, okay, whatever, I can deal with this. Went in there, took my history, still by the end of my history, no idea what's wrong. All right, I'm gonna start my physical exam, and I did my physical exam, and I'm still sitting there like, I have no idea. Like, she was still hypertensive, she was young, she was she'd been put on a med, and she tried lifestyle changes and everything, but she still, I think it was like 142 over 90 or something. So when I went down to sit down and talk to my patient, I was just like, okay, well, your labs show you have low, electrolytes. And I explained to her maybe what electrolytes were and probably was causing her fatigue and headache. And so I'm going to have to run a few more tests to figure out why you have low, sodium and chloride. And so I didn't give her a real diagnosis. I just said, we're going to have to do a little bit more investigating. And this was an oral report once, so we had to go out in the hallway. And we had 5 minutes to look over our notes and kind of write up or think about what we were going to say in our oral report to the physician. So then 5 minutes is up, and I still had no idea what I was going to say for my assessment. I wrote some things down like, oh my gosh, I'm going to say this wrong. It was like fibromuscular dysplasia. She was young, and I thought maybe she has some type of secondary hypertension if it wasn't reacting to medications or lifestyle changes. And I'm trying to think of other things. Oh, headache. Okay, maybe a pheo. Yeah, I don't even think I got a point for that on my differential. I just like, no idea, tired. I put hypothyroidism, right? Someone's tired, put hypothyroidism. I mean, I was at a loss, and I never felt this, I guess, dumb afterwards. And so I walked in and I gave my presentation, which I guess went well because I didn't know what she had to give, you know, history and physical exam and vitals. And then came to my assessment. I'm like, oh, we have a 26-year-old African American female who comes in with, you know, and I'm just like, oh my goodness, I have no idea. So I said what I had to, and I think I added the medication and more that, well, let's just keep giving her some more, maybe add an ACE inhibitor. She was on a diuretic before, and so anyways, I ended it, and I was just like, ugh. And the physician who I was reporting to, I had never seen her before, and she's like, okay, how did you think that went? And I was just like, or like, I think that was my response, was like, not so great. She's like, oh, what do you mean? I was like, well, I don't know, like, what she had. I guess I thought, I mean, I felt kind of disorganized and everything, and she spent like the next few minutes being like, oh no, you did a great job, and history was great, and I'm just like thinking, I'm like, what on earth did she have? And I guess I shouldn't be so single-minded and like just think like, oh my gosh, it only went well if I knew what she had and figured it out. But she said, no, you did a great job talking to your patient, and she really liked how at the end I sat down on my stool and talked to my patient. And here's something, it's like, what, do other people not sit down? You know, like your patient's up on the little, what do you call it, like the bed thing, the exam table, I guess you can call it. And, you know, I'm on my wheelie chair, and, you know, after my physical exam, I always sit down, hold my chair up a little closer, you know, and then I'm talking to them. And yes, I guess I'm looking up, but I'm always short, so I'm used to that. And she just really praised me for that. Like, that was so great. Patients seemed to love it. And I'm just like, oh, okay, yeah, sure, you know. And she told me what it was, and I don't think other people found out, but I don't know, she felt bad that I was so like, oh my gosh, didn't know what it was. Ended up being due to her medication. With diuretics, she was on hydrochlorothiazide. It can cause, you know, sodium and chloride wasting. And anyways, that's what it was. And I guess it's a very common thing in clinic, primary care clinic, and to be honest, I cannot even remember learning about that in lecture. Maybe they spent a second or two, or maybe as a side effect or something on the diuretics, but it just wasn't on my radar for that day. And I was thinking it could, you know, what could a renal SPALL be? Okay, you know, things I was thinking was like pyelonephritis, the kidney stone, BPH, because we did some reproductive in there, men's reproductive. And those actually ended up being the other cases, but this is the one I got. And I was just like, or it could be nephritis or nephrotic syndrome. No. And so I walked out there feeling pretty disappointed, and I got my score back and it was fine. I totally didn't get any points on my assessment or plan because obviously I added medication when you are in fact supposed to take it off. So that was a bit disheartening, walking away from that on Wednesday. And then I didn't have much time to think about it though, because that night, Thursday night, I spent hours in surgery lab. So let me tell a little bit about our surgery program at school. And a lot of schools actually don't have this, so it's kind of cool, but it was really stressful. Yesterday I wasn't so happy about it, or last week, but it'll prepare us well for third year, because we go in and our first few times are all on aseptic techniques. So we have to learn how to properly, and we actually have like a real, not real, but I guess, yeah, it's a real surgery suite with, you know, the washing stations and everything. Just obviously not, they don't actually do surgery there. So we had to learn how to do aseptic technique with, I mean, there's a whole list of like 100 things you have to do, and how you have to wash your hands, and how you set up your Mayo stand, and how you introduce yourself and put your name on the board with your glove size, and all this stuff that would be so helpful next year, and I had just no clue about. And that was our first few sessions, and then the next few we learned a bunch of procedures and suturing and about documentation and just a little bit of everything. And that's a little bit overwhelming because we had to kind of learn on our own. We have a few sessions and then just practicing. So maybe we learned 6 or 7 sutures, but we had to know 5 of them for the exam. And that was really fun. I knew how to do the basic interrupted stitch, but I gotta learn all the other fancy ones. And then we had to learn all the procedures. Oh my goodness. So there's things easy as like punch biopsy, excisional biopsy, but we also learn how to do surgical cricoid, I'm going to say this word wrong, the surgical cric, needle cric, and intubation, and lumbar puncture, and chest tube, and central vein, and we learn how to do laparoscopy, you know, with the, I don't know, it's kind of fun. oh my gosh, there's a ton of other, oh, nasogastric tube, Foley catheter, just straight catheter. We also had to learn lines and drains and all the different surgical instruments, and then we were tested on it, which I have not been that stressed in a long time, just leading up to that. Because for the test, we had a 50-point multiple choice exam, tested over everything, and then we had documentation. And I haven't mentioned documentation, but we had to do some assignments. So we had to do like a post-op note, an admission note, and a progress note, and orders, and like figure out how to write out prescriptions. And that was part of the written test, and we had to like pretty much do all of that for. We had a whole sheet of paper of just like a presenting case, and we had to do all that. Then you go down and you have to do, they pick out of a hat how to do, oh, knot tie. We also learned how to do one-handed and two-handed knot ties. And we had to do those on, like with our yarn and then also with the string, and we had to put like Crisco on our hands, and we had to like put it down into a cup so it was like inside the body and get all, that was actually kind of difficult, but did fine on that. We had to do two, we had to identify and say like what they're used for, 2 drains or lines and drains and 2 surgical equipment. And so we did, and then we also had to do a suture. Then we went up and they just, I guess randomly, whatever procedure you got. I had to intubate, which a lot of people had like punch biopsy and this and that, and I had intubation. But I actually like intubating. I figure out how to do that, you know, which one, you know, you can use the Miller or the Macintosh, and how you have to, you know, put the pressure forward. And of course I'm kind of small, so I was like shaking and everything, but every time I got it, like the first time. So I practiced that one. And so I went through and I did that one just fine. So I think I passed. But anyways, Friday, it was such a relief to get through Friday. And we actually went out and celebrated. We went out with a friend and went to a restaurant here in town, and John did well. What did he have? Oh my goodness. Oh, he had a needle crike. So, and of course you get cases and you're not, you know, then you're supposed to decide what to do. And mine was pretty, just like, oh, you're shadowing an anesthesiologist. And today he feels like your skills are good enough that you can intubate the patient. So what are you gonna do? Intubate. So it was pretty easy, but I think John's was, he was on a plane and someone went down and all you had was like the needle crike set. So obviously you're gonna do the needle crike. I don't know, this is totally becoming really rambly. So I guess I just told a whole bunch of stuff about renal SPALL and our surgery exam. And that weekend we had to catch up because then we had our neuro exam on Tuesday. So all weekend we were catching up and studying for neuro and trying to keep up with board studying. And so we had neuro exam this week. Oh, and then Thursday, just yesterday, I had my very last simulation. So sad that's done. I mean, but excited too. It's kind of, and I'm 0 for 5 of patients that I killed. So I mean, it's all mannequins, but our patients always ended up fine. We ended up getting the diagnosis, and so that was really fun. That's probably one of my favorite parts of second year med school, is all the simulations. And then today we had our psychiatry SPALL. So tonight I'm gonna do some more board studying and catch up on psychiatry notes, because on Monday, guess what? We have our psychiatry exam in the morning, and at 1 o'clock I have my neuro SPALL, which is gonna be crazy because we have to do all the neuro exams, and this is one that we have to write up. We can't just do the oral report, so we get a half hour to write up the whole note, which I think today, tomorrow, and Sunday I'm going to write a note a night, because you have to memorize it pretty much and know what to say, and you have half hour to do it. Anyways, I'm gonna stop rambling, but I think that's kind of what we've been up to. Again, I'm so sorry I haven't done any more videos. I haven't really been following my original plan for board studying. I've kind of completely switched. I think I mentioned in one video I'm doing doctors in training, and I pretty much just switched over just to doing doctors in training and not all my extra books. And maybe in a video next week, sorry guys, not this weekend, I will outline what I've changed to. Yeah, I'm kind of disappointed I didn't stick with my original plan, but at the same time it wasn't really working for me, and you have to learn how to adapt, and so I adapted to what I could get done, how much time, and kind of what was the best plan for me. So if you guys are interested in hearing about my new plan, I can talk about that. Oh, and then I was thinking about doing, I've seen other people on YouTube do like day in the life video, and I really haven't found a good day in the life of a medical student video. Maybe I haven't looked hard enough, but I thought it would be fun to maybe do that. And maybe next week I will just bring like my iPod, has a pretty good camera on it, or bring my camera and just be like, okay, you know, this is the time we get up, these are the classes I'm in, and just kind of take you guys around school and what and there's no, I was going to say average day or typical day in med school. I don't even know if there is a typical day, because the day I was thinking about doing is, I mean, every day is so different. But I thought I would show family and friends and anyone else who's interested in what it's like to walk a day in my shoes. So that, I guess, is a present for being so bad and not updating videos and updating you on life. Maybe that you guys can forgive me if I do one of those. It'll probably take a lot of editing, so I'm thinking about doing it next week, one of the days, and then maybe that next weekend or so, editing it and putting it out. Anyways, that's all. I'm going to keep rambling if I keep this on any longer, so I hope everyone's doing well. See you guys soon.